myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Hi, welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. That is Those Were the Days with George Mitchell.
Hello,
Hi,
everybody.
George. How are you? You okay?
Fine, thanks. Yes.
Great stuff. Another one in the series. So 59 to 60 we're doing today. But go on, you just wanted to say something, George.
Just to thank everybody for their good wishes to Marjorie, who's poorly at the moment. So thank you, everybody. That's really kind. Thank you. Yeah, we're into the swinging 60s, if you like. But nothing changes at Newcastle. The off-field boardroom rows between McKeegan and Seymour. And Seymour's the protagonist. He wants to run the club his way, and he doesn't like anybody else doing it. William McKee, who, as I said last time, he gets a bad press, and really his heart was in Newcastle United. He did make a proposal which eventually found favour with Seymour, and he said he would stand down if he and Seymour could agree on a new chairman that they both could support. And they both could support Wally Herford, Dr. Herford. So Herford eventually, partway through this early part of this season, became chairman, which was great. But it didn't help Mitten. Seymour was still digging away at the back in the background. We'd kind of, because of our goal scoring exploits for the past couple of years, got a name for being entertaining football, which just seems like a throwback to something. Yes, Keegan was the entertainer as well. Believe it or not, the media start to call our team with Mitten the Mitten Marvels because of the goals they were scoring. Everybody was sure we could score goals. Len White was still here. Al Church was here. George Easton was starting to score goals and play international standard football. There's no doubt England were looking at him by then. But in the back of your mind, there was the thought that, yes, last year we scored over 80 goals, but we'll let over 70 in at the other end as well. And I think that doubt hung around for a little bit. So it's a kind of the roller coaster that we're on as being Newcastle United. Outside of football, well, Coronation Street First Aid on television, and queues outside bookstores to buy Lady Chatterley's Lover, would you believe? And I mean, what a crazy thing. A book was getting all sorts of thrill write-ups because of its content, its lurid content, as they called it in those days. Nowadays doesn't bat an eyelid. And of course, also in this period, America elected a young man as president who has become very famous, and that was Kennedy. JFK was elected then. So that's the context of the period we're in outside football. So we'll go straight into the season. We'll start with the photographs. Steve, it's interesting.
We've got some team photographs first.
That's it. That's
fantastic. I love that. This was my favourite one you sent. This.
Yeah, well,
reminds me of school.
Well, it's taken in the old gym. You put a photograph on the other night of people queuing for cup tickets or something, and it was at one end of the gym that put a couple of holes in the wall to turn it into a ticket office when they wanted to, and that's the inside. That's what it was like, and it was like an old school hall. It's appropriate to put it on there with Mitten there because I think the older lads, they saw more of this inside of the gym with Mitten there than they had with any other manager because he was all up for gymnastics, movements and all that sort of thing. So he was that's why that's there. And of course they're wearing the Mitten strip as well, the strip that he designed. And that's a typical team photo taken out on the pitch, but it includes some people who you didn't see very much. For example, on the far right, as we're looking at it, next to line right is Liam Toohey, who the brought from Shamrock Rovers, and Al Church is at the back, far right, and next to him, the dark-haired lad is George Luke, who left us to go to Hartlepool and made a name for himself, and we brought him back. And insight towards him is a old friend of mine, George Heslop, who was a good centre half, but made his name at Manchester City, not with us. He very nearly made England with Manchester City, but he was a nice lad, a good lad, and there was a lot of comment around the club when they allowed him to go, and he went very cheaply as well, which some people couldn't understand. The next one, Steve.
Another team photo, but 2 squads.
I've mentioned this to you before, but I'll remind people who haven't heard it before. That's the first team in the stripes and the second team in the whites. Well, it's not exactly like that. It's the first team forwards and half the first team defence in the whites. So that was our first match of the season. And there was 2 games like that. There was whites versus stripes, and then possibles versus probables the next time. And they were the traditional 2 pre-season games that we always had. However, Charlie Minton introduced the notion that we should be playing proper games. So we following this, there were lots of friendlies arranged by Charlie Minton. The only thing notables I'd point out, and that has nothing to point out, it's just the whole squad, really. Ronnie Simpson's the goalkeeper on the right, and Brian Harvey, the goalkeeper on the left, who was brought in by Minton to replace Simpson. Minton didn't like Ronnie Simpson. He made that clear. And in some team talks or group talks, I've heard him saying some rather scathing things about a lad who was 33, Scottish international, had been to 2 cup finals and all of that sort of thing, and really was treated quite harshly by Minton because he liked Harvey because he was 6'4" and all the rest of it. But as I've said about poor Brian, he was a good stopper, but his hands were very delicate indeed and caused lots of trouble. Lots of local lads in there. Right in the middle in the white shirt on the front row is Ken Hale, who was a pleasure to play with in the ends. And Alec Tate, of course, in the middle of the whites towards the left there, 3 from the left, was centre forward and had been in the years gone by my school teacher. So, and there were lots of people on there that I'd got to know quite well while I was there. So that's the reason that's there.
Okay, so your next photo is this one, George.
It's an action photo of Ivor Alchurch. Ivor Alchurch, we bought, in my opinion, towards the end of his career, but he still was a great servant. A big man for a forward, for a midfield player, inside forward, as we used to call them in those days. Over 6 foot, very, very broad, hard to shift off the ball, but very, very clever feet, very good feet, and a shot like a cannon. So he did good service for us, even though he was, as I say, on his way to the wrong end of his career by the time we bought him. Next one, Steve.
It's a programme, so we're into our first game, I believe.
Okay. There's not many of the home programmes on because they all look the same. It seems daft reproducing the same thing because it's got a different name on. I'll just talk about the things from my notes that I've got. And the first game was against Tottenham Hotspur. Now, before we got to Tottenham Hotspur, we had a friendly against the Edinburgh Select, Deportivo, and Charleroi from France. So there was 3 big friendly matches before we got to this, and we did quite well. Edinburgh Select, we lost 4-3. Then we'd 1-1 against Deportivo and beat Charleroi 5-1. So it was a good warm-up for them, including the traditional whites v stripes and all the rest. So they had a good warm-up when they met, and they couldn't say they weren't ready. Well, the season before, we started with a 5-1 loss. And guess what? We started with a 5-1 loss again against Tottenham. They absolutely marmalised us. Cliff Jones, that speedy Welsh winger, scored a hat-trick, tore to shreds. And a lad called Brooks, inside forward, midfielder, he scored the other two. And our consolation late in the game was George Eastham. 41,000 at the game because people were anticipating something special, having scored all those goals the year before. Next one, Steve. I don't know if there's a programme.
It's Manchester United now.
Right, let's leave that one. Can we leave that one for the minute? The next three games were a disaster. We played Birmingham City away and lost 4-3. Eastham 2, White 1. And then we played Manchester United away. We'll put that one up now, Steve.
There you go.
There. And lo and behold, 3 games on the trot, we get beat again, 3-2. White and Alchurch scorers. Dennis Violet and Bobby Charlton the scorers for Manchester United, with 55,000 at Old Trafford to see that game. And we were every doom and gloom was putting it mildly. You can imagine three bad losses at the start of the season, and everybody reminding how many goals were let in the season before. People were already had the panic buttons being pressed, and I know how gloomy it was in the Gallagher corner on the odd days I could go, because I was playing. I couldn't always go. Sometimes I was away playing, and the family went and I got the reports when I come home, as it were. Now this Manchester United just well, they were at the top of their game, and we were struggling, and they beat us 3-2. So the next game I've got is, I think there's a team picture after that. Is there, Steve?
Yeah,
that's the Manchester United team. I thought it was worth having a look at some of the players and all the rest of it, with Harry Gregg in goal, Bill Fuchs next to him. Right far left, as you're looking at that picture at the back, is a young man called Morris Setters, who was a real hard man and was to become an England international. I mean, he was going to be the one of the top players. And the front far right, believe it or not, that's a very young Bobby Charlton. It took me a while to realise it was him, but
I wouldn't have picked that out either. But
no,
yeah, it's because he's got a full head of hair.
Exactly. So that anyway, I thought it was worth looking at the team at the time. And the next game,
You've got a couple of action shots, George. So I'm not sure if this helps.
All right. Yeah, it does. I was going to say these are from that game. This is us against Manchester United at Old Trafford.
Right. I was trying to work out who it was. Obviously, I knew it was Newcastle, but
and there's another one. There should be another one.
So is that Old Trafford?
As it was before the build.
Wow.
Yes,
I've never seen photographs of Old Trafford back in the day.
No, and they're both Old Trafford, and in that particular match, and I think it's. I quite like to try and get hold of action photos if I can, but it's not always easy. But these are quite very good ones. Yeah, these are quite good ones. And as I say, 55,000 at that game, and one that people remember. Next one should be a programme, I think, is it?
Yeah, we're on to Birmingham.
Yeah, that's right. Birmingham City away. We went to Birmingham City with trepidation, should I say. Nobody expected us to get anything out of it. And in typical Newcastle, they turned everything on its head. And they beat Birmingham 1-0. And Len White scored the goal, 35,000 at St Andrews. And at least it made people feel that we're turning a corner, we're going somewhere with having had this victory. The next game was Preston North End. I don't know if I've got a programme for Preston.
Is that a home game, George?
No, yes, it is. Sorry, I won't have.
Burnley was the next home game programme.
Right, okay. No, it's okay. The next one was Preston North End at home, and everybody thought, well, this is it. We're beating Birmingham. We're going to beat Preston. Well, we didn't. Typical Newcastle. Eastham scored the consolation, but Preston had Tom Finney on form. He was tearing us apart. And a young man called Gordon Milne had made his debut a few weeks before, and he scored the other one. And he became a great English international and a big Preston hero and a decent manager as well. So we lost. That really put the dampers on everybody's enthusiasm, having had this 1-0 victory at Birmingham. So the next one was an away game at West Brom. And I don't know if I've got West Brom on there. No,
there's no programme for that.
No. Right, okay. We went to West Brom. Always a game my lot liked, because they like the football West Brom played. It was always a good football game. And we went without any anticipation, but lo and behold, we managed to get a 2-2 draw. And Eastham and White scored our goals. And Hogg and Kevin, Derek Kevin, the big blonde forward for England and West Brom, scored an equaliser. We actually threw another game where we threw a 2-goal lead away. But never mind, we got the win. The next match I've got is Leicester City. I don't know if I've got a programme for Leicester City. No. Away at Leicester, and people were nervous about it being an away game. But lo and behold, Newcastle come up trumps, and we beat Leicester 2-0. And Jackie Bell, old friend of mine from the Ends days, scored both the goals from I mean, he's a defensive midfielder these days, they would have called him. But Jackie had a shot like a cannon if he got it right. And he scored both the goals, and we beat Leicester 2-0. So we're starting to get some points on the board now. We're still bumping along the bottom of the league, but we're starting to get some points on the board. The next game I've got is West Bromwich Albion, and it's is there a programme of that, Steve, or is the next programme Burnley? Is it?
The next programme is still Birmingham.
Well, the next one after that,
Burnley at home.
Burnley at home, right? Well, we're not far away from that. That's fine. We had West Brom at home. That's why I didn't put all the home ones up, actually, because they're all the same.
Yeah, because you said at the start that there's pointless putting all the home ones up because they all look the same.
Absolutely. Well, the next one was West Brom at home. And everybody thought, well, we've had a draw with them away just a couple of weeks ago, and we beat Leicester in between. So surely we'll get something out of that. But it was far from being it was a 0-0 draw, but it was an entertaining 0-0, if that makes sense. There was some good football from both teams. I mean, they had the full team out: Ray Barlow, Ronnie Allen, Derek Kevin, all the top England internationals were playing, and we played with full team as well. But it ended up as a 0-0 with both goalkeepers having a good game. So the next one is the Burnley home game. And we're all thinking, well, we're going to get something out of this. You know, this is because we've done so well in other games. But the thing about Burnley is that it's a team we like to see because, and Laura Geordies like to see, because you knew you were going to see a team filled with Geordies. But sadly, they didn't do any favours because they beat with 3-1. But in the team, Adam Blacklaw was a goalkeeper. Elder and Angus were the fullbacks, both from Durham. Jimmy Adamson from Ashington. Tommy Cummins from Horden. Brian Miller from Hortonley Spring. Jimmy Robson and Ray Pointer, both from Ashington as well. So that's a Burnley team who are, by the way, are tearing the league apart at this time. They were winning everything in sight. And they came to St. James's and took us apart. Beat with 3-1. I remember I was actually at that game. I remember there was never any hope that we were going to win anything. John Connolly, the winger, scored 2. Jimmy McElroy, the Irish international inside forward midfielder, who was a star player, they just took us apart. We got a consolation goal from Alec Tate, who was in the team at that time at centre forward. And as I say, 39,000 at the game. So the confidence is starting to come back because we'd had a couple of wins before, but this wouldn't do the confidence much good. Our team was Stuart Mitchell in goal. Stuart was not a bad goalkeeper, but not the best, I have to say, and struggling to keep up to the standards of Ronnie Simpson. Dick Keith, Alf McMichael, fairly standard defence. Schooler, Stoko, Jackie Bell, Gordon Hughes, local lad, Ivor Allchurch, Alec Tate, George Eastham, and Bobby Mitchell. And by now, Charlie Mitten's got an assistant manager, and it's our old friend Norman Smith, who was the trainer. They didn't spend a lot of money on the assistant manager; they just changed his title, I think. But Norman was a lovely man. That's somebody I knew and had a lot of feelings for. Burnley manager was a man called Harry Potts, a hard character, but he knew his football and had Burnley playing out of their skin at that particular time. So that was that. Then we went to Leeds United, I think was the next one. That might be the next programme, actually, Steve.
It's a rather nice looking orange Leeds United programme,
yes,
George.
That's right, it is.
It looks a bit like an official book off a bookshelf.
Doesn't it? Yeah. It breaks the tradition of the northern clubs being 3 pence. It's 4 pence as well. That may be to do with the fact that it is a body colour. Well, we went to Leeds and people weren't entirely sure what was going to happen in this game. But lo and behold, we came up with an away win. We beat Leeds 3-2. And we let Leeds get into a 2-0 lead with goals from John McCall, an Irish player for Leeds, and a man who became slightly famous, known as Don Revie, scored the second goal. And then, strangely, Malcolm Scott was at centre-half for us that day because of injuries. And after half-time, 2 corners, bang, bang, Malcolm Scott makes it 2-2. And then the game's end-to-end then, in virtually the last kick of the game, a blistering shot from Ivor Allchurch from 30 yards plus, and we win 3-2. So everybody goes home happy. The team's slightly different. We've got Stuart Mitchell, but we've got Bobby Whitehead, a local lad at right back instead of Dick Keith, and Alf McMichael, Jimmy Schooler, Malcolm Scott, Bob Stoko playing half back, and then the usual on the forward line: Hughes, Allchurch, White, Easton, Mitchell, and other names in the Leeds team. Wood was the goalkeeper, very famous goalkeeper, and a young man called Jack Charlton was playing centre back for them. And Don Revie was leading the forward line. So a great win for Newcastle United. It as I say, it lifted the spirits, and I'm trying to again Allchurch on the scoreline. I think the next game we had was in between that game and the next league game. We had another friendly, would you believe?
Oh, the love of friendly in the middle of the season.
I mean, Aberdeen. We went to Aberdeen, in between 2 fairly tough games. They trailed up to Aberdeen and they had a 3-3 draw at Aberdeen. And I mean, it can only be money. I mean, that's the only it could be. It certainly couldn't be doing the team any good, I don't think. So the next game is West Ham at home. And people are optimistic of having had the win at Leeds that we might actually do something against West Ham. Well, we didn't. It was a disappointing 0-0. And it was a turgid 0-0. It really was awful. It was another game I did happen to get to. And I remember that the feeling at the Gallagher corner when the 10-minute flag went down was that half the Gallagher corner went home, which is unusual. I mean, there was always some people who lived by the 10-minute flag. For those that don't understand that, there used to be a flag in the back in the corner of the back of the Gallagher end corner. When 10 minutes was left to play, they used to pull the flag down. And for some people, that was the signal to go for their bus. Well, not with my lot. They stayed till the death. they waited till the stands emptied. Never mind the players going off, but never mind. Some people went home in 10 minutes. Well, in this game, when the 10-minute flag went down, I think half the Gallagher corner went home. It was so bad. It was absolutely dreadful. The next match I've got is I think we played. Oh no, we didn't. Surprise, surprise. Before the next game, we played a friendly against Dundee United. I mean, this is serious stuff. We went up to Dundee and played a friendly. It must have done them a lot of their confidence a lot of good, because they won 9-2 in this friendly. And as I say, 8,000 people at the game at Dundee. I mean, no rhyme or reason why we did this, but we did it, and we seem to do it regularly. The next home game was against Nottingham Forest, and there was hope that after the last couple of games, we were starting to show ourselves to starting to score goals again and getting some points on the board. By now, we're creeping up to the middle of the league, and people are getting a bit more confident. So Forest come. And lo and behold, we beat Forest 2-1. They had a winger called Stuart Imlach, who became quite famous. Very fast, very, very tricky winger. And he put Forest up in the first 5 minutes. So everybody thought, oh, wow, this is going to be tough. But lo and behold, within 10 minutes, Len White had equalised. And then just in the middle of the second half, Len White forced their defender to... he went for a header and the defender got there first, but the ball still ended up in the back of the net. So it was a Billy Ware own goal for Forest to give us the 2-1 win. The Forest team had players like Bob McKinley, a Scottish international, Joe MacDonald, a Scottish international, and in midfield for them, a certain Jemaili, who was... later on to become quite popular with our lads as well. They also had a Geordie, Tommy Wilson, in the team, who I recall from my school days. Tommy had gone, I knew he'd gone south somewhere, but I didn't realise he'd gone to Nottingham. Well, he made it into the first team for that one. I'm sure his family would enjoy watching that game, even though they got beat. At Newcastle, we had Stuart Mitchell back in goal. Bobby Whitehead retained his full-back position. Otherwise, the team was one that I've read out, with the only difference is that Mitten had bought a lad called Grant Malcolm from the Midlands, from his old club, Mansfield, and he put him instead of Gordon Hughes. He didn't last long. Gordon Hughes was back in the team fairly quickly, but he had a tidy game that day. 35,000 at that match for Forest, and as I say, confidence is obviously coming back. So we're now heading towards Fulham. Is there a Fulham programme there? I think there might be.
There certainly is. We've got a couple of away game programmes now. So this one's Fulham.
That's Fulham, yeah. And went to Fulham with, confidence after the wins we'd had. I mean, people thought that there was a possibility that we might get something out of this away game. Well, we didn't quite. We lost, but we lost 4-3. And we're back to this business about if they score 3, we'll score 4 sort of thing. Well, it came the reverse. They scored 4, and they really took us apart in the first half. And one of the instigators of that was a young man called Johnny Haynes, who was starting to play for England and starting to make a name for himself. Really clever midfielder, and ably assisted by Jimmy Hill, the man with the big chin, who became famous on TV, Match of the Day, and as chairman of Coventry Football Club. A great servant to football, Jimmy Hill. By half time, they were 3-0 up. Key, Cook, Jimmy Hill made it 3-0. Just after half time, bang, Johnny Haynes gets into the picture, makes it 4-0, and everybody's thinking, well, we've had it. This is going to be a whitewash. But lo and behold, shortly after Johnny Haynes scores, Ken Hale scores a goal. 2 minutes, Ken Hale scores another goal, so we're back to 4-2. Then about 10 minutes from the end, George Eastham shows why he's looking to get into the England team and scores an absolute peach of a solo goal, dribbling from the halfway line right down to the penalty area and then slotting the ball underneath the goalkeeper. So at 4-3 with 10 minutes to go, it looked like we're in for a good chance of a draw, but it didn't happen. We ended up losing 4-3. Our team is unchanged from the previous one I mentioned, with Stuart Mitchell in goal and Bobby Whitehead playing fullback. Alec Tate was centre forward, and Len White was in the middle. Interesting for Fulham though is that Jimmy Langley was one of the fullbacks, and they introduced a young fullback called George Cohen, who of course ended up playing right fullback for the World Cup team. And Alan Murray is still a famous name in football. And lo and behold, in the forward line, centre forward, an older man called Roy Bentley, who started his career with Newcastle United and then went to Chelsea and elsewhere, but he ended up at Fulham. And Johnny Haynes, of course. On the left wing was a lad called Tosh Chamberlain. Well, in the 50s, when we played them in a cup tie, Tosh Chamberlain tore us apart and ended up going to Chelsea. Well, he didn't last long at Chelsea and he went back to Fulham, and here he is appearing against Newcastle again. So 4-3 loss. It was disappointing, to say the least. And we came home to the next game was Bolton Wanderers, but I've got to interject again and say, hold on, there's another friendly between Fulham and Bolton. We're playing an all-star 11 who would beat 11-4. 11, what a wonderful score, 11-4. Anything, what's that about? So, but I'll talk about that more at the end, because I did a bit digging about that one. Last season we played an all-star 11, and as far as I could find out, it was just a favour for somebody from Mitten who wanted to try out a scratch squad to see what they were like. Well, this one was slightly different. This all-star 11 was slightly different, and I'll explain more later. And so we then got Bolton Wanderers at home. We thought, well, having had such a great shout at Fulham, surely we'll turn Bolton Wanderers over when we get them at St James's Park. Well, unfortunately, it didn't work like that. Bolton came and, were just better than us on the day. It was gobsmacking, and they came with their team. The interesting thing was that on that particular day, they didn't have Nat Lofthouse in the team, which was a surprise. But they had a couple of wingers called Ray Parry and Doug Holden, who actually tore us apart. England goalkeeper Eddie Hopkinson was playing for them, and the two wingers just tore us apart. And Ray Parry scored both goals, one in each half, and 35,000 crowd. And we were back at St James's with a similar team to what we've been playing. Mitchell, Whitehead, McMichael, Schooler, Stoko, Bell, Jackie Bell. And then on the right wing, we're trying another right winger called Bobby Gilfillan, who came down from Scotland. Another buy from Mitten, who was canny, but he didn't last very long. Len White in the middle, George Eastham and Bobby Mitchell. And as I say, 35,000 people at that game. So it wasn't bad. The next game was an away game. No, it wasn't. Lo and behold, we've got another friendly, would you believe, Steve?
Well, I do believe it.
Between Bolton and Wolves, because the next game is the away game at Wolves. And for some reason, we played a friendly at York and beat them 8-2. I mean, scoring the goals was due a lot of confidence. But what we're doing with all these friendlies, I do not know. Got some interesting statistics at the end to tell you as well. So the next league game was Wolves, and I think I might have a Wolves programme there.
There we go.
Yes, yeah. And we went with feeling a bit nervous about this one because Wolves were playing quite well, and we had a series of strange results, and we continue to have strange results. Unfortunately, Wolves beat with 2-0. The team was quite strong. I mean, they had Bill Slater, Ron Flowers, both played for England, Peter Broadbent, Norman Dealey, all England players at the time. Billy Wright wasn't playing; he was injured, the England captain. But nonetheless, that didn't matter. They beat us 2-0, and Peter Broadbent and Jimmy Murray scored the goals. Our team was almost as red with Stuart Mitchell, and this time at right back, a local lad called Bill McKinney, who Mitten signed from Wallsend St Luke's, which rings a chord with me because I knew lots of the lads from Wallsend St Luke's, and I got to know Bill quite well when he joined Newcastle because I was still there on playing odd games myself. But interestingly, they having tried 2 wingers he'd bought on the right wing, Mitten went back to Gordon Hughes. Gordon Hughes was back on the right wing with Ivor Altchurch, Len White, George Eastham and Bobby Mitchell to complete the forward line, which was fairly standard for this particular season. But the 2-0 defeat was disheartening for the fans, and I think for them. 34,000 at Molineux. Stan Cullis was their manager. About this time, or slightly before this, a personal story. I went to Wolves with the Ends to play in a youth cup preliminary round, I think it was, and we played at their training ground, which was outside the Wolverhampton itself. And Ted Hughes, who interesting guy, who used to run the Ends, headmaster, he always tried, if he could, if there was something or somebody important at the match, he would try and get them to come in and talk to the lads. Well, lo and behold, Stan Cullis was at this game. So at half time, he asked the ref the extra 5, Stan Cullis in our dressing room. Well, the guy looked fine, but oh gosh, his language was blue, to put it mildly. I mean, even for that, a bit shocking, but it was nice to meet him, and a famous player and all the rest of it. And just as he was going out, the door opened again, and in came this other fella, and lo and behold, who was it? Billy Wright, the England captain. Now that set the lads off. You know, here's the England captain coming to say hello, and he had a general word. He didn't speak to anybody in the village. He just said, you know, he was playing well, keep at it, etc., etc. Very, very nice, very nicely spoken. An absolute contrast to Cullis in terms of that. So that was a nice thing for Wolves, but it wasn't a nice game for us. We lost 2-0 in the real game, and then we came to
George. I've got a team photograph now, so I'm not sure if this helps you.
Oh, sorry, that's Wolves. Yes, I've forgotten about that. That's Stan Cullis in the middle. And to the right of him, that's Billy Wright with the quiff, as they used to call it in those days, in his hair. Bert Williams, the England goalkeeper at the back. And Slater at the far right-hand side, in sitting down on the chairs. That's Slater, who was England halfback. And Broadbent, the goal scorer, was second from the left. And they were playing well, and they were starting to set the European trail, of course, and playing friendlies against people like Honved and Dynamo Moscow and that sort of thing. I remember going into and seeing it on TV late at night. It was quite something. So that's Wolves, as they were in those days, who beat us 2-0. Next one is
Now we've got a couple of programs lined up. Obviously, we've got a home game to come. Just to keep you in order, George.
That's okay. That's fine.
We'll have Blackpool and Man City as your next away games, but crack on with your home game, mate.
Well, the next home game's Everton, and people look forward to this game. I don't know what it was about the Everton game, but we always seem to have a good battle with Everton, and people were. But this wasn't just a battle. We annihilated them. We beat them 8-2. 8-2. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And it was 4 in the first half, 4 in the second half, and in between, Everton scored a couple of as well. So it was 1-0 George Luke, 2-0 Gordon Hughes, 3-0 Ali Church, and then 3-1 with Ed Thomas scoring for them, 3-2 Ed Thomas scoring for them. And then after half time, 4-2 Len White, 5-2 Len White, 6-2 Len White, 7-2 George Easton penalty, and then 8-2 Ivor Church. I mean, I was away playing myself, so I didn't get to this game. But you imagine when I get back to the Chicken Road Academy, they couldn't stop talking about it. It was the talk of the night. Everton's manager that time was Johnny Carey, the old Manchester United fullback, Irish fullback, and their players they weren't a bad team. I mean, they had Albert Dunlop in goal, Bobby Collins, Scottish international, Tommy Jones, Welsh international, Brian Harris, Welsh international, Eddie Thomas, who was a Welsh international, Johnny King and Jimmy Harris both played for England. I mean, they didn't send a team of mugs, so we beat quite a good team and absolutely hammered them, which was incredible, and it certainly give a boost to the fans, and we're now sitting just about middle for diddle in the league because of these various wins and draws that we've been getting. The next match is away game at Blackpool, so that's the programme you've got, I think, Steve.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah. Well, after an 8-2 hammering of Everton, we were hopeful that we might get something out of Blackpool. Hope with Newcastle's a dangerous thing because it didn't happen. They beat us 2-0, and it wasn't difficult for them. We seem to have lost our mojo somewhat. Ray Charnley and Arthur Kay scored the goals, and in the Blackpool team, a young man called Jimmy Armfield was starring at right fullback, became very famous. Roy Greatrix, England halfback, and in the forward line, none other than the famous Stanley Matthews actually turned out against us. And Bill Perry, Jackie Moody. Bill Perry was an England winger. Jackie Moody was a Scottish winger. So they were a good side, but we still had thought that after the game against Everton, we might do something. Our team was fairly predictable. Another change in goalkeeper, though. Minton brought in Brian Harvey and got rid of Stuart Mitchell. Bobby Whitehead stayed at right back. And we had George Heslip in the team, who I talked about earlier, at centre half. Gordon Hughes was back in the forward line, and on the left wing, Bobby Mitchell was injured, so George Luke played on the left wing. So we 16,000 at Bloomfield Road. And when I reflect on, we would regard that as dreadful, but it was normal for them in those days. 16,000. They weren't a giant club, but they were a club that had a good, strong following. But they beat us 2-0, and it kind of put the dampers on what we wanted to do. Our next game is a home game against Blackburn Rovers. But lo and behold, you won't believe it, there's a friendly in between these two games against Torpedo Moscow. I mean, great, fantastic. 4-4 was the score, with Alchurch, White 2 and Eastham scoring the goals. And I think the fans starting to tell them a story now. 7,000 at this friendly match. 7,000, which made St James's Park look deserted. I mean, we were lost. But I think that was a message from the fans saying, hey, we've had enough of this. It's what's it about, you know? And as I say, 4-4. So the next match was a home match against Blackburn. And one we hope we might do something from. And Blackburn were up for it. They were playing really well. And lo and behold, Peter Dobbins scored for Blackburn in 5 minutes. We were goal down, and people thought, "Oh God!" But then Len White, in a few minutes, equalised, made it 2-1 before half time, and just before the final whistle, George Easton made it 3-1. So it was a comprehensive win in the end, and 32,000 at the match compared to the 7,000 at the friendly match. As I say, I think that friendly match, the fans were telling the directors a story or two, I think. Now, the next one should be Manchester City, is it, Steve? Away?
It is.
Yeah. Manchester City away, we went with some trepidation. We always had good games against Manchester City. But lo and behold, they turned up trumps and we beat them 4-3. I don't know how, because in half an hour we were 3-0 down. And Billy McAdams had scored a hat-trick. And just before half-time, Harold Church made it 3-1. And then the second half, Jackie Bell, Len White scored. And then John McTavish, their defender, pushed into his own goal. What would have been another Len White goal. He just was deflecting what would have been Len White's anyway. So that was a 4-3 win. And everybody was absolutely thrilled to bits. 30,000 at Main Road for that game. And our team remained the same with Luke and Hughes on the wings, George Heslop at centre-half. Their team had Bert Troutman, of course, as the goalkeeper, Bill Levers as full-back, Ken Barnes in midfield, George Hanna, our old midfielder, playing for them in their forward line, and Paddy Fagan and Billy McAdams leading the forward line. So that really picked the spirits up on Tyneside. When we went home to the next home game, which was against Arsenal. And that's the programme. That's one of the programmes that I did put in. The game which Arsenal were playing very well, in a game which we thought, well, this is going to be tough. And sure enough, in the first 5 minutes, bang, Joe Haverty scored for Arsenal, and we thought, oh, it is going to be really tough. But then, before half-time, Harold Church scores 2. Immediately after half-time, Len White scores. And then just before the end, Len White scores again. And we beat Arsenal 4-1 with 41,000 in the crowd now. So confidence is coming back on with the fans and starting to feel that something was going to happen. And by now, even though we're mixed with odd wins and draws, we're still up about middle and slightly above, which people were very happy about. Next game was a away game at Luton. I don't know if I put a programme up for no. I will leave that. That's a way back. We played Luton and beat them 4-2. Hughes, 2 Eastham, and George Luke scored our 4 goals. And Billy Bingham, an old adversary from Sunderland days, scored one of their consolations goals. So we got a victory. And then another away game, and we go to Tottenham Hotspur. Now, I think that was a Tottenham Hotspur programme you put up, Steve.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. We went to Tottenham, and it's funny, the Tottenham programmes, when I look at that era of programme, don't look special to them. I mean, it could be anything, but never mind. That's another issue. We went to Tottenham hoping that the renewed form would get with something. Well, again, hope with Newcastle's not a very good thing to have, because they absolutely tore us apart. Danny Blanchflower, Maurice Norman, John White, Cliff Jones, scored all the 4 goals. And what I've read, even in the Chronicle at that time, we didn't even look like we would score a goal in this match. And it was really depressing. 33,000 at the game at White Hart Lane. Of course, characters in the Tottenham team: Maurice Norman, Danny Blanchard, John White, Dave Mackay, Bobby Smith, the centre forward who became very famous, and Cliff Jones. And our team was as it was in previous games. So there was no major changes we then, on the December, next one should be a Chelsea programme, I think, Steve. Yeah, the FA like to have you play the same team on either Christmas Day or Boxing Day and vice versa. Well, we drew Chelsea. I mean, who in their right mind thought it would be good to have, Geordie's travelling all the way to London for the match, and then Cockney's travelling all the way up to Tyneside for the match over the Christmas holiday. I mean, whoever thought that should be shot with the proverbial? Not very clever. And we went with having had the whitewashing at Spurs, we thought, well, God, this is not going to be any better. And lo and behold, it didn't look like it was going to be any better, because a young man called Jimmy Greaves, within quarter of an hour, had Chelsea 2-0 up, and everybody thought, here we go again. But then straight after half time, Oliver Alchurch pulled we back to 2-1. And then just before the end, Len White scored one of these brilliant individual goals after a dribble from the halfway line right through the middle of the Chelsea defence, and then slotting it underneath the Reg Matthews, the Chelsea goalkeeper, to make it 2-2. So it was an unexpected draw after the Tottenham game, I have to say. But it was a good game, great game, with lots of personalities in their team. As I say, Reg, about John Sillett, the fullback, Peter Sillett in the midfield, Frank Brunstone on the left side of the forward line, Johnny Brooks, and of course Jimmy Greaves. And our manager at the time was Ted Drake, who was a very famous manager of the time. I just bend down and pick something up. And almost straight away, of course, we're back to Tyneside to play Chelsea again. And 28th of December now. And Peter Sillett opened the scoring with a penalty, and we thought, oh, goodness, not going to go well. But then just on half-time, George Eastham equalised with a brilliant individual goal. And the two teams that played were almost identical to the two teams that played a couple of days beforehand. So a 1-1 draw with Chelsea, everybody thought that was good. And now we're back up to 45,000 in St James's, and really enjoyable at that time of the year. You know, the next match is a home match against Manchester United, and I did get to this one, and it's the one I remember. It's funny, when we were ages ago on Geordie's Here, Geordie's There, we were talking about famous games that we remembered. I'd forgot all about this one. It's strange, I shouldn't have done, because we beat Manchester United 7-3. 7-3 against Man United. Gordon Hughes, Len White scored for us in quarter of an hour. Alex Dawson for them. And just before half-time, Len White completed his hat-trick. And then after half-time, Albert Quicksall made it 4-2. And then George Eastham got a penalty. Jackie Bell scored. And then Albert Quicksall got a penalty for them. And Ivor Alchurch finished the scoring on 88 minutes. So a comprehensive defeat. Our team was the one that has been playing all the time. Brian Harvey now, Dick Keith, Alf McMichael, Schooler, Stoke Bell, Hughes, Alchurch, Len White, George Eastham, and George Luke. Still Bobby Mitchell injured at that time. And Manchester United had a strong team out, including Bobby Charlton, Dennis Violet, Albert Quicksall, and a young winger called Albert Scanlon, who was very soon to become a Newcastle United player, but we didn't know that at the time. 58,000 at this game, so that did the support a lot of good. 7-3 victory over Manchester United. We now go away to Preston, I think. I don't know if I've got a Preston programme there.
West Ham and Arsenal next.
Right, okay, we're getting near to the end. We went to Preston and won 2-1 with Eastham scoring and Willie Cunningham scoring an own goal, deflecting the ball off a Len White shot. So we beat Preston. We then had Leicester at home, and everybody thought, well, yeah, we're going to take this one. We've got to, we're beating everybody else, and so we'll get Leicester at home, and lo and behold, typical Newcastle, we lose 2-0, lost miserably. We were never in this game. It was a one we should have won. 33,000 at the game as well, which is disappointing. Gordon Banks was their goalkeeper. He was the one I wanted to mention because people will remember that name. And Colin Appleton, who became famous manager across the years, was in the Leicester team as well. And our team was fairly predictable, but something of a disaster for us. The next game I've got is Burnley away, and we're now starting to think we're just below middle and starting to hope that we don't get any more defeats. Well, we did. We went in the lead very early with Ivor Altchurch at Burnley, and then Ray Pointer and Jimmy Robson, 2 Geordies. Peg were back just before the end of the game to take the match 2-1. 27,000 at that game is what. And then we had Leeds United at home. Was the next one. I'm bending down because dropped the paper that I wanted. And Leeds United at home, and we wondered if we could recover from those previous, but we did. We beat Leeds 2-1. Gordon Hughes, Len White scored the goals, and Don Revie scored their goal. And again, Jackie Charlton in that team, Ray Wood in goal, and but the previous losses are now beginning to tell, because the crowd for Leeds was only 16,000, which was a bit depressing. I mean, that almost is an empty St James's Park for me, and not very good. I was looking for this because we got Leeds United, and then that's fine. We then went away to West Ham. That might be the next programme, Steve.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And we didn't know West Ham were playing well, and we worried about our travels to London like we still do. But we needn't have worried because they were on song, although you wouldn't think it, 3-0 down by half-time, which seemed to be a regular occurrence for us. But then immediately after half-time, Len White, 2 goals in 5 minutes, Ivor Altchurch, George Eastham, and then just before the end, Gordon Hughes put the tin hat on it and made it 5-3, which was absolutely incredible. In the West Ham team, they had Phil Woosnam was a midfielder, inside forward as I would call him, who was making a name for himself. Ken Brown was and John Bond were the centre backs, and Noel Cantwell a full back. And John Bond, of course, the father-in-law of Lampard, he's not. He's his uncle. Sorry, and John Bond's Lampard's uncle at West Ham. So we beat them 5-3. So things are starting to look up, and we then go to Arsenal. We've got an away game at Arsenal. The fixture list wasn't particularly friendly with us this particular season, because there's another London game almost immediately after that one. And we hope we might at least get a draw. Well, hope rings eternal, as they say. We're not Newcastle United. It didn't. The people were 1-0. And to rub salt into the wounds, the goal was scored by a lad called John Barnwell, who was from Seaton Delaval, a Geordie. And it was a good game by all reports, the accounts that I read, but a 1-0 victory to Arsenal. Then we came back to St James's Park.
We've got a quick photo here of Everton.
All right, no, I'll keep that for later. We'll get to Everton again soon. The next home game was against Fulham. We won 3-1. Easter, Malchurch and White scoring the goals. And you would believe it, Roy Bentley scored their goal. The old Newcastle centre forward scored their goals. And on the left wing, they had a lad called Graham Leggett that bought from Aberdeen. Now, many years before that, I had seen Graham Leggett playing for Aberdeen because my family in Aberdeen, in the summer when I was at school, used to always persuade me to go up to Aberdeen for my 6 weeks holidays. And when I was younger, I used to always, their season started before ours, so I used to see lots of Scottish games. And I seen Graham Leggett playing for Aberdeen, which was fantastic. So we beat them 3-1, and people were getting excited now. We were actually getting above halfway. Then we were at Bolton Wanderers. We went away. I don't know if there's a Bolton program. No, it doesn't matter, no. Steve. There's not. No, I couldn't find a Bolton program, to be honest. So we went to Bolton and thought, well, what's going to happen here? Are they going to let us down again? But they didn't. They beat Bolton 4-1. And goals by George Eastham, Len White, and 2 goals by a young man called John Mitten, the manager's son. Now, John, he had 2 sons, John and Jackie. Of the 2, I thought Jackie was the better player. But I don't think Jackie had a particularly good relationship with his dad, where John did. And John was a left winger, decent left winger, but he was inclined to be on the soft side. He wouldn't go in for a hard challenge. There was no way he would go on a 50-50 and come out with a ball. You knew if there was a 50-50, the other bloke was going to come out with a ball. But he scored 2 goals that day. So here we are. We're climbing the league. And Doug Holden, Dennis Stevens, all the usual of the Bolton team. And our team is almost as per, but with John Mitten playing on the wing instead of Gordon Hughes. So we're now trotting up the league. We Bolton, we're at home to Luton Town next, and we beat them 3-2. White 2, Eastham 1, and Billy Bigham scored there 2. So we're now starting to rattle up the league with victories like that. As I said, Luton Town had Billy Bigham in the team, and Gordon Turner, who became a great manager in later days. We then went to Everton, and that's why I've got the Everton team. I couldn't find an Everton program, so I put the Everton team in. That's the next photograph. That was mostly the Everton team we played that day, and the one I was going to mention is in the middle with the ball between his feet. That's Hickson, the centre forward. And you can see by the width of his shoulders what kind of centre forward he was. Brilliant header of the ball, very strong. And next to him, the little guy with black hair is Bobby Collins, a Scottish international, and a great midfielder, a great inside forward, as I'd call him. Now, on the far right, in the slightly darker shirt, is a lad called O'Hara. Now, I think you might remember I've been talking about much earlier playing in a game against Everton at St James's Park, one of the nursery teams. And that was the lad O'Hara who I dumped onto the cinder track at St James's Park. Well, I didn't do him any harm because there he is in the first team, which is a lot to be said. the Everton team had like Bobby Collins, Roy Vernon, Jimmy Harris, Jimmy Gabriel, a great midfielder, all. But lo and behold, we beat them 2-1 with Al Church and White scoring the goals. And we're now headed towards Blackburn. No, Blackpool at home. Sorry, Blackpool at home. And we drew 1-1 with Minton and scoring for us and Arthur Case scoring a penalty for Blackpool. And we're now going towards Blackburn Rovers. It's away. I don't know if there's a Blackburn programme there.
The last one we've got is Blackburn.
Yeah, that's it. We went to Blackburn and hoping that we might get something. Well, lo and behold, we did. We got a draw with Mick McGrath scoring for Blackburn and then George Easton just towards the end, equalising for us. Quite a good game, I'm told. The Stars and Blackburn's team, well, they had a winger called Brian Douglas, who played for England for many, many years, and he was a thorn in our side. Our team, Bill McKinney had come back into right back because of injuries. Gordon Hughes was back on the right wing, and John Minton was switched to the left because Bobby Mitchell was injured. But a 1-1 draw, which went down well with the club, with the lads. Next was the Sheffield Wednesday at home, and we drew 3-3. Jackie Bell and 2 to Len White were our goals, and 40,000 at the game. So confidence is back, the crowd's back, and so on. 40,000. So a good game, end-to-end stuff, with 40,000 at the ground in this game.
I have got a photograph here, George, and I'm not sure who it is, so I'll have to come to you.
That's Everton. That's before Everton developed their ground.
Right, okay.
That should have been further on with the team photo, yeah. With Hickson beating Brian Harvey, I think, by the look of it. Now that one is guess what?
Don't tell us a friendly.
Yes, it is. And that's 2 friendlies, and one's Halstad from Sweden, but the bottom one is the All-Star 11 that I mentioned before. And it was all to do with, I now realise that All-Star 11, it was a benefit match for Norman Smith. That's why you played the All-Star match, that All-Star match. And thank goodness they got a decent crowd as well. You know, there was over 20,000 at that game for Norman's benefit. But unless you dig, you don't know these things. And it just looked like yet another bloody friendly, you know. So here you are, we play Wolves at home and Len White scores the goal. We beat them with 48,000 in the ground now. So confidence is really, really coming back. And the bit that I've missed was that in between here, there's a cup tie. We're drawn against Wolves in the cup. And we drew 2-2 at St. James's Park. And then lo and behold, went back to Molineux on the Wednesday and lost 4-2. So trashed out of the cup at the third round. But the 2-2 game at St. James's had a 45,000 crowd. You know, well, the cup brings, for Newcastle, it brings up this. I mean, we'd had a good win and all the rest of it. So that's where we went. And then the next game was at Sheffield Wednesday, where they beat with 2-0, sadly. And then we went away to Nottingham Forest and ended up getting beat there. And a 1-0 defeat at home to Manchester City finished our season. However, it didn't finish our season because after Manchester City, we played a friendly against Shamrock Rovers, which we won 2-0, a friendly against Southend United, which we won 6-3. We played a friendly against Schalke, 3-0. Dynamo Zagreb 3-1. Hajduk Split 3-2. They beat us. Espanyol we beat 5-2, and then Sevilla we beat 2-1. So all of that at the end of a 42-game season is just unbelievable. We finished 8th in the league, which wasn't bad. You know, it in fact was very good. The only warning sign was we scored 82 goals in 42 matches, but we conceded 78. So it you know, the warning bells are there about defence. Mitten had tried to buy defenders. He tried to buy Mel Charles, and Seymour and his cronies blocked that, wouldn't let him have him. In fact, it got to the point where Mitten nearly resigned. He was so upset about that, but they persuaded him to stay. But I said it about some analysis at the end. I've looked at Len White. I've picked Len White because he's a goal scorer. 29 goals in 42 matches, remember. But if you count his league games, 37, and all of these friendlies that he played in a lot, 2 cup ties, he played 53 games. 53 games. And he scored, in those 53 games, 50 goals. I mean, I couldn't imagine modern players putting up with that now.
No,
there'd be a riot. But that's what Len White did in a black and white shirt. And in fact, at the end of that season, I think it wasn't John Gibson, because it's before. Well, it's not quite before John. John's predecessor was that man called Ken McKenzie. You might remember that name. And he wrote a piece saying that Len White was the forgotten magician of Newcastle United, because he season after season for about 5 seasons, that's the kind of goals he was scoring. And yet he got picked for the Football League team. People not watching might not know what that means. In those days, the Football League used to pick a team and play the Scottish League and play the Irish League. And because it was interesting, because it was the Football League, you used to get Welsh and Scottish players in the Football League team. Well, Len White got picked for that and had a blinder, scored a hat-trick against the Scottish League. And everybody thought, well, the next thing is play for England. Well, he didn't. He never did. He got selected for the B squad, but never got a game because the game was postponed. But that was Len White. Over 53 games and 50 goals in one season. Absolute tremendous effort for any player.
Fantastic.
So 8th, not bad. But that horrible goals against column is a warning for the future. There's no doubt about that. So that's it, Steve, I think.
Excellent stuff as always. Big thank you to our sponsor, Spider Miner, worldwide coverage from the lads, the only cryptocurrency miner that can mine 5 different cryptocurrencies at the same time whilst using virtually no energy, and it's VPN protected. Buy yours now at www.miner.spidervpn.org. Skips and bins as well. Thank you, lads. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to L&G Family Funeral Directors. 0191 389 7245, and a Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegouhd.com. Thanks to Away Day Clothing, and thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wolves and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Handmade Sauces in Cumbria. You can find out more about them at mrvickies.co.uk or by calling 01768 210102. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. If you want to subscribe, hit the NUFC Matters logo in the bottom right hand corner. You can subscribe for free. Don't forget, guys, hit the like button, which is the little thumb under the video. Costs you nothing, helps us a lot. Click share to your social media, such as Twitter and Facebook, by hitting the share button. Again, that is free. We are available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. Don't forget, you can join the channel or make a donation by hitting the dollar button or hitting the join button. And if you want to become a fully fledged member, go to nufcmatters.com, look for membership, or if you've got a smartphone, put it over the QR code. It takes you straight to that part on the website. What do you get for your money? You get a cup, a pen, a scarf, and a membership card, and entry into the monthly draw. We also give away free car stickers if you subscribe, but you must email John at nufcmatters.com to claim that today. Don't forget as well, we do support the food bank. Please give generously. Go to the website, nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk, and you can make a virtual donation to the bucket today. And Frank Clark and Gibbo will be at the Tynemouth Surf Cafe Monday the 5th of December. Get the last tickets, which are available now. Do not miss out on that. It's going to be a cracking night of entertainment. Well worth anybody's money. As always, been an absolute pleasure to spend just over an hour with you, George. Look forward to a full foot into the 60s next time.
Well, it's pleasure, and it's the poor tense are there. I've warned you about this goals against column, and it's going to get worse.
Great stuff, mate. Have a good week. Speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.